Okay, the first thing we're going to do when we're creating a stairway is we need to identify the height, right? Where the stairway is going to start and where the stairway is going to end. So in our apartment building, we're starting from the first floor, top of first floor, and we're going to go up to the top of the second floor. Now, we haven't determined at this point what our depth of that floor truss system is on the second floor, so we're going to do that first. So a way to do that is, in the design process, is to go out and find a website that will give you some span tables for floor trusses. Okay, so I went to Google and I typed in floor truss span tables, and I came up with some span table charts that are available online. So I'm going to click on this first one. And here's some floor truss span tables. They're floor trusses for 2x4s or 4x2s, they say, because they're laying it flat. And there's an option for floor trusses that are made with actually 3x2s. We're going to use the 2x4s, and we have to determine the amount of load that's going to be on this floor truss system. So we have to deal with a live and dead load, right? In residential construction, the typical live load for a floor is 40 pounds per square foot for living space and 10 pounds of dead load. Is that right? Okay. This is an apartment building, and we're adding one component to that floor that we don't have in residential construction, and that is that 1 inch of gypcrete. That's part of the dead loads. We're going to increase our dead load by 5 pounds to making it 15 instead of 10 of dead load. Okay. So here we go. 40 pounds of live load. 55 pounds of total load. So that means there's 15 pounds of dead load in there, right? So we can come down here and we have 16 inch on center, 19.2 on center, or 24 inch on center. So in our plan, the span between the outside wall and the center common wall, the distance was what, 26 feet about? But that's from outside to center. And the definition of a span is clear span, so we could actually cut that back by minusing 6 inches on the outside and minusing half of that double wall on the inside. We could get it down to, 10 inches less than 26 feet, which would be 25.2. So we may not need to know that, but we might need to know it. So if we're going to try go 24 inches on center, at a deflection of L over 360, the last one over here can go 25.9, right? That would work for us at 22 inches deep. That truss would have to be 22 inches deep. We could also go to a 20-inch truss, or we could also go to a 19.2 on center and get by with an 18-inch truss, huh? Everybody see that? 19.2 on center, L over 360. We can span up to 26 inches with an 18-inch truss. So for this project, we're going to use that 18-inch truss, and we're going to place them at 19.2 inches on center. Okay? So that's a way to look up an approximate span of floor trusses. Another option would be to call your truss manufacturer in your area, and they could tell you what the spans are of the trusses they're making. But this would be a way to use this. Okay, so in our building, we have to go to our south elevation again, and we may need to adjust these heights. Is that right? Okay, so we need to adjust this level of the second floor, and like I said, we have the first floor studs, or wall height is 8 foot 1 1/8. We have the 18-inch truss, we have the 3/4 inch flooring, and then we have the 1 inch gypcrete, which adds up to making this distance here 9 foot 8 and 7/8, not 1/8. Okay. If we move that up, we're also going to have to move the top one up as well. Okay, so now since we've adjusted this second floor, we need to adjust the roof level, so we're going to take that 9 foot 8 and 7/8 minus the 1-inch gypcrete, add the height of the wall, which is 8 foot 1 1/8, and we end up with 17.9. Okay, so now we have all of our levels at the right height. We can go back to our first floor plan, and we can attempt to put a stairway in here. So I've done a little bit of preliminary work here. As you can see, I just simply drew a detail line. It's only for the purpose of locating the center of the stairway. I drew a detail line from sheetrock to sheetrock inside the stairwell, and then I drew a line from the center of that line out a ways. That just indicates where the center of the stairway. This is going to be a U-shaped stairway that comes up to a landing, turns, and goes up again to the upper level. So I'm going to go to the Architecture or the Home tab in the corner. I'm going to go to the Stair command. We actually have two options. We can stair by component, or we can go stair by sketch. We're going to do stair by component. And it defaults to an assembled stair residential closed two sides. That's the one it's going to default to. We're going to go and down here it's going to start at the first floor. It defaulted to that, and the top is going to be the second floor. That should be right. There should be no adjusting to that. It's going to tell me that it requires 17 risers to get there based on the preset riser and tread heights that are in the program. It's going to tell me that the treads are 11 inches. That's going to meet code if we looked at our code book. So let's go edit the type maybe. It's going to tell me that the stairway is 3 foot wide. Okay, I probably want that wider because in our case our stairway is going to be wider. At this point I'm going to leave it at 3 and we'll adjust it later. It's wood steps with 1-inch front nosing. That makes sense. Non-monolithic landing, we'll leave that. It's an interior stairway. Supports, the right support is a stringer and it's closed. Closed meaning that the stringers are actually on the outside of the treads and the treads are notched into the stringer, and you actually are not cutting out the stringer, you're routering out a place for the treads to ride in the stringer. That's one type of stairway. The one you're more familiar with is an open stringer. So if we click that, we're going to change that to a open stringer. The right carriage height, carriage painted 3/4 inch wide. We're not going to worry about that right now. The left side, we'll change that to also an open. Here it's telling you that, again, the treads are 11 inches, the risers are 7. So we'll apply that and we'll say OK. Okay, so then at this point, I don't know where to start and stop. Okay, so here I'm just going to pick a point and I'm going to start this stairway. Okay, and as I draw it out, I'm going to find a point, and then I'm going to turn and find another point. I'm going to have to redo this one because I need a calculation before I do this. So I'll just draw this out for now. I'll bring it over here, and I'll come back this way. The reason I'm going to have to redo this is that I kind of want to know exactly where my stair is stopping and starting. And this is probably going to work out all right, but I want to caution you on this one thing. So I'm going to edit this in a minute. We'll go back to this. Okay, so now I've got a stairway in there. It doesn't match up with my walls at all, so I'm going to finish that stairway first off. It shows it in there. Then I'll click on the stairway and I'll go edit the stair. And now I can pull these lines out to get to the wall. I pulled the landing first, and I should have pulled the landing second, I guess. At this point, I'm going to leave this big gap in the middle because I don't know, am I going to put a wall in between the stair? Am I going to put open railings, or what am I going to do? So at this point, I'll leave it like that. I think we're going to put a wall in there, so it just means I have to edit the stairway again later on. But let's just leave it like that. Let's again finish that. And let's take a look at this stairway. Let's put a section through it. Now, typically, I just put a section through the stairway to start with, just to find out if it's working, and then I delete that section, and then later on, when I have it the way I want it, I'll put in the final section. But this is just so I can look at it. Okay, so I have a stairway in here. Obviously, this landing needs to come up against this wall, which I don't have in there correctly yet. It has a bunch of railings on it. It is open. Just to show you what the difference would be from a closed to an open stairway, if I go to edit the type, edit the support to the closed stringer, your stairway would look like that. In that case, you have the stringers hidden up here. You really have kind of like skirt boards on the stairway, correct? So that's the difference in the two stairways. So let's go back and look at this from maybe this view, because there's some things about this stairway that aren't going to work. Obviously, I have railings all the way around it, right? And I don't want railings on the outside. I can click on those and delete them. Okay, you can just click on them and delete them. I have railings up the middle, and if I don't have a wall in that middle, that's what I want. If I do want to put a wall in the middle, I can also delete those. Okay, so at this point, I don't know whether I want that or not, so I'm just going to undo that one. So I could have those in the middle. Back to the first floor plan. Okay, so now again, I talked about this not coming up to the wall. I want to throw some dimensions in here just so that I get my landings the right height, the right distance. So I'm going to just throw some dimensions on here from face of this wall to the first riser to the last riser and to this wall. Okay, so I want this stairway to be very accessible for moving furniture in and out of the building, because it's an apartment building. Tenants come and tenants go, so there's a lot of moving of furniture in and out. So I want this landing at the top to be bigger. I don't want a 7-foot landing at the bottom and a 3'9" here. So I'm going to take my stairway and I'm going to move it, and I want this landing at the top to maybe be, let's see, can we get by with 5 foot? Okay, so now I have a 5-foot landing at the top and I have a 5'9" landing at the bottom. They're pretty even, a little bit bigger at the bottom, so that's probably okay. Then I need to click on my stairway, edit the stairway, pull this landing to the wall, to the sheetrock of the wall. do a little fine tuning and finish that. And I have a stairway. Now, in fact, it's going to be possible to mirror this stairway over into this location. Or I could just recreate it. But I'll show you, if I wanted to mirror it over there, I could click on this stairway, go to mirror, find the center of the building, and I put the stairway back in this room, and then I can click on the stairway, mirror it, and I have that stairway over there. So that was pretty fast, you know. So using the mirror command can really speed up some time. I could have just as easily created that. It would have taken more time, but there are ways to do a double mirroring and get something in a different location than you have it. Okay, we do have to create an opening in our floor. We actually don't even have a floor in this building yet, and we'll get to that, and eventually we'll put a floor that'll create the opening to get through the stair.